Welcome to Real Talk Food Safety with Jill and Tia and our special guest, Betsy.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. We're excited to be here this Wednesday, this crisp fall Wednesday in Baltimore.
Yeah. Last Wednesday of October, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, wow. You're
Woo!
Where did
right.
where did October go? Forget 2023. I mean, just October. Holy cow!
I know. You know what? I know that it's only so I know we haven't made it to Thanksgiving in the States, right? But I do plan on putting up my Christmas tree early November.
I thought you were going to be like before Halloween. I was like, woo,
No,
that's
definitely not for
ambitious.
Halloween.
We might need to talk
Or
about that.
Thanksgiving.
You're that person, huh?
Typically it goes up like the day before my family gets here to make it seem like we have been in the holiday spirit, which I have been. I love the
Right
holidays,
on.
but my house might not look like it. So this year I have verbally expressed it to people, and now I'm telling all of you that's listening that my decorations will be up early and I'm targeting before Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm
All
coming
right.
for you, Tia. I'm in Howard County. I'm coming right for you.
Like it's gonna be like 2 weeks before Christmas. I'm like, oh my god, I have to get my tree up before my family.
And for those of you just joining us, we're not talking about Halloween decorations. We're talking about later.
Right.
Tia is
Crazy,
proactively
crazy.
thinking forward. So,
Like I'm trying to, but I'm trying to be better this year, but I don't honestly, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we talk about like shifting our mindset and talking and putting things out into the universe. And so that's what I'm doing this holiday season.
Right on.
excellent.
Sorry, I was waving at Victoria, who said
Hi,
hello, Betsy.
I
Victoria,
know. Welcome,
welcome.
everybody. Thanks for joining us. If
Yes,
you're here live with us or if you're on replay, certainly put in hashtag replay because we love commenting back and sharing in the conversation. So hello, Damaris and Stephanie. Good to see you. Victoria, thank you for
welcome,
joining.
welcome. We're excited about today because we have a fabulous guest.
Yeah. In fact, I would almost say like you're like one of the best kept secrets, which is not going to be any longer in with some of our food manufacturing friends.
Yeah, but that's such a tough line. You are spot on. But I'm over here going, I gotta get my word out. So I don't want to be a secret. Nobody
No.
puts baby in a corner. Come
There
on
we
now.
go.
Well, in fact,
Let's
when we
go.
met, I was like, my mind was a little blown. I was like, whoa, this is something that we all need to know about.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you are spending today with us, well, at least the next hour,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
talking about one, being unstoppable. Because Betsy, you've got an incredible story and it's so inspiring. And
Oh,
then two, talking about allergens and
yeah.
this space, because especially with sesame coming out, coming out, however we want to put it.
Busted all the way out.
Right.
It's busted. And, I think that's really, that really created some ripples about like how else do we manage allergens.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think helping people just have a different perspective and know about some of the things that you do and that your team works on, I think will be amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think our audience is always looking for different options and how can we better manage allergens and what's coming up in the future. Because you're right, Jill, like when sesame came out for us to tackle, it just put front of mind again, right? Like how are we managing allergens? How are we now going to start to label and manage a new allergen that maybe it was integrated into the rest of the ingredients or products that we make. And so it's just been top of mind for people. I think allergens in general over the last few years because of that change. And so I feel like it's timely. It's a timely conversation. It's a timely conversation for people to meet you too.
Yes,
Oh, thank you.
absolutely. And yesterday, when we were kind of prepping, I was sharing with Betsy that last week I was at a Bridge to Food event and we were talking about food safety and plant based innovative products. And as I was just doing a little research, because clearly I don't know all of it and I'd like to learn more, but I was blown away that there were over 160 foods that have been identified with allergen containing compounds. And Betsy, you were quick to be like, actually, you knew the number.
It's 170. Yes, it is the number.
Mm.
And it is sad, but true.
Yeah.
And for me, that was mind blowing because being in food, right? We know there's more than the 9 that are required here in the US. We know Canada and Europe have more.
Yeah.
But it really kind of opened this bigger picture of there's way more for us to be thinking about when it comes to allergens.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's something I remember doing this project with a company where they were looking at replacing something because of supply chain issues, and
Sure.
taking a look at, okay, is this new ingredient, is it a sensitivity? Even not even a major allergen, but is it a sensitivity for people? And I remember doing research around the ingredient, and
Sure.
we ultimately decided not to use it because, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a common sensitivity among people, even though it wasn't one of the big, at the time it was big 8, but one of the non-major allergens in the States, or even, I don't even think it was identified in some of the major areas, food areas like Canada and the UK and the EU. So, but it's interesting, like those are conversations that we have and should be mindful of, right? As we think about what we're adding to our products, how we're substituting out things as our ever changing supply chain, comes to us as food professionals.
Yeah.
Right.
So welcome to everybody for joining today. And if you are new and it's your first time joining us, we're so happy to have you. And you may be wondering, like, well, who are Jill and Tia and why are they hosting the show? Well, we're founders of Catalyst, and our mission is to transform how people lead in food so that collectively you are more empowered to live authentically, achieve more, and really help your organizations reach their business outcomes.
Yeah.
But really, we focus on whole being, taking care of teams, being more inclusive, how we do things different, which is why HR teams love when you introduce us to them, because they're looking for solutions to help so that you have the right development partner. And that's exactly what we do. So,
to drive those business results, right, that we're looking for.
Yes. So, but today we are so excited to have Betsy with us. And we don't usually do a brief intro, but Betsy, I really felt like this would be a good way to help people really like get a sense of all the work that you've done in this space. And then of course we're going to get your story. So we are so happy to have you, Betsy. Betsy Craig, you are an award-winning CEO and founder of Menu Triumfo. And these services include nutrition for food service, Allertrain, food allergen training, food handler training, certified free from, which is an accredited certification program for food allergens and gluten. You are also one of our nation's leading experts on food allergy management throughout university campuses in the United States. And to date, over 1,000 colleges have used programs that you've developed and launched to protect lives of food allergic students. Welcome. Wow.
I've been busy. I haven't slept in 14 years. That's what that means.
I know. I read that and I was like, because I think when we think about allergen experts in this space, like you said, when we found you, we were like, holy moly. We need to know more about you and what you're doing.
Yeah. Never set out to do any of that, honestly. So that story in and of itself is kind of entertaining.
Well, of course, we would love to know your story. Yeah. So we kind of gave kind of the high level, the formal part of it, but we'd love to hear directly from you. Like who is Betsy and how did you come to be in this space?
Well, first off, ladies, you're amazing. And I couldn't agree more about Catalyst. I got to sit in a session last week where these two amazing leaders we're talking about culture, communication, team building. Just I loved your presentation when we were all together in New Jersey last week. I'm not going to try to say the name of the town because I mess it up every time. But it was wonderful to hear you, and I look forward to the impact you're going to have on Menu Trimfo. So there's that. Let me just say that first off. And I am a woman who grew up in and around the food industry. My grandparents had a meat market, and when I was a little kid, I remember, this is a food safety nightmare for those that are know food safety. I remember walking in and my grandfather's hand reaching over the meat counter to hand me the size of maybe a golf ball that was a chunk of raw ground beef. Oh, wow. And I would take it and eat it like an apple. And
wow,
that just makes, did you guys see Tia's face? Like, people are like, and you're still here to talk about it? All joking aside, I know people have lost their lives for a whole lot less. But yes, that's how we grew up. Started in the food business as a kid, in and around the food business most of my adult life, either working in restaurants or selling to restaurants. Spent about 8 years over in the tech industry and then came back to food service. But I have a title that we were talking about yesterday, Jill, that a funny thing happened on my way to dying, because I have a story that in 2004 changed dramatically. So up until 2004, I'm just bopping around my self-centered life, doing Betsy and doing my deal, making money, acquiring things that I thought mattered. And I got nailed. I got nailed with an autoimmune disease. I do not have an autoimmune food allergy. I have a different autoimmune disease. It's called scleroderma, and it took me by storm. I went from healthy to sicker than a dog in a few months. Wow. And it took 18 months to get diagnosed. And when I got diagnosed, I was given 12 to 18 months to live. Wow. And this was back in 2005. And I'm like, holy cow. I had this young daughter I wanted to watch grow up. She wasn't terribly young. I mean, she was 12, I think, at the time, or 13. But I'm like, I want to watch her graduate high school. Like, let's just set the sights there. And I went and sought medical help. And modern medicine gave me a lot of good ideas. But I really started to look at food. What am I eating? What's it doing in my body? If I can't pronounce it on the label, why am I putting it in my face? Like, those kind of hard questions. My nicotine habit of Marlboro Reds 2 packs a day had to go away. Like, a lot of things had to change, and they did. And for me, I hit a moment of truth 3 years into fighting the disease, where I had been laying on the couch, and I thought, if I get up off this couch, if I'm lucky enough to live, I'm going to do something. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something. And I'm never going to take my life for granted again. So my whole attitude, and I say that I was self-centered because I did think from my belly button in, not out. Everything changed. Everything changed. So I changed the way I ate. I fought. I've been on chemo for a total of 12 years in my lifetime. I've been through all kinds of medical hell. However, I was making sure I could say that word, I got off the couch. And in 2009, when my daughter went off to graduate high school and went off to college, I thought, what am I supposed to do with this life, this one precious life that I'm not dead from? And early in 2010, a friend sent me a message on Facebook and said, menu labeling is coming for restaurants. You might want to look into it. Your husband can build the software. Maybe it's something you want to be into. And I was like, the timing was right. I needed a job. That's a different story for a different day. But I said something to my husband, my amazing partner in everything, Rocky. And I said, honey, what's menu labeling? And he looked down at his laptop. A half an hour later on that Tuesday night, he looked up and said, I can build it. And I looked up and said, I might be able to sell it. And we started Menu Trimfo, which stands for Menu Nutrition Information All Mashed Up. So we started as a nutrition labeling company.
Okay.
Wow.
So
you got off the couch and you were like, let's do menu labeling. No, kidding.
I got all the way off.
Thank you for helping our food industry.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think there's a divine power that moved through me on that. I'm not kidding when I say I never set out to be this. I was a vice president of a junior high school PTA. Like, I didn't know how to run a business, let alone one that's been in business for 14 years, let alone the kind of amazing clients that we get to have and the work we get to do and all of it, Menu labeling became training, became certified free from. And that story's pretty cool and we'll get into that. But I never thought that this would be my life. What I do know is I will do anything and try anything and charge up any hill because I have a different perspective than most humans.
Mm.
I go, well, I could be dead. It's this or I could die. When everything is against, well, at least I'm not dead, then nothing looks as scary as people think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a few things in that story that, several things stand out to me, but a couple things that come top to mind is just that mindset shift, right? Like you had something dramatic happen to you, which hopefully many of us do not have to go through something as dramatic, but just
100%.
about how our thoughts and our mind, how that makes us into one person. And in order to do something different, right? Like we have to intentionally shift that mindset, right? Like you had to intentionally say, I want to, and I need to do something with my life. And then you have to intentionally choose to do that, right? Every day until it became your life.
Well, if you're lucky, you get to intentionally do it.
Yeah.
If you're not lucky, it's that or die.
Yeah.
And starting each day with gratitude and counting blessings and looking for alternative solutions and changing every piece of my life was the only way to stay alive.
Yeah.
So with all due respect, I don't mean to be combative, no, but truthfully, I just didn't see any other option. I know that if I laid on that couch, I'd be dead. I can't even count the number of people I have met through support groups and the Scleroderma Foundation, all that. They're all dead. They are all dead with the exception of 2.
Wow.
And so the fact that I'm not dead is insane, but I'm not. I'm healthy. I'm functioning. So I think there's a purpose. So yeah, I kind of let go or get dragged. I got dragged into this.
Yeah.
And now I'm here.
Right. I think the second thing that you said and yeah, you're right. You're like, you're either living or you're dead. It almost sort of it doesn't really eliminate that fear, but it almost pushed you I can't be scared of stepping out on my own or doing this or whatever direction you're going in. Like you said, you never even ran a business, but that fear of running a business, right, was so, maybe it was just less than the fear of dying and not being able to experience life with your daughter. It's that hurdle of fear, I guess, and the imposter syndrome and all the things that holding us back from moving forward.
Right. 100. That daughter, by the way, graduated high school, college, grad school, married, gave me my first grandson. Oh. So I just want to bring her all the way along. But you're absolutely right, Tia, 100%. And it's like fear is, face everything and recover. Well, I face whatever comes down the pike and recover through it. That's my path. And that doesn't make me any special than any other human walking the planet. But when somebody says, do you want to lead the food allergen committee for the Conference of Food Protection for the next 2 years and deal with these 5 points? I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'll find the time. I'll do it. I'll have fun with it. We'll do it well.
Yes.
That I think is incredible because actually I'm reading a book right now. It's over there, which is why I look there. It's Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach.
And I love her. She's amazing.
Yes. I've read some of her other things, but this is the first time it's been on my pile forever. But the first part really circles back to the core thing that holds all of us back from living authentically is fear.
Yeah.
Fear of acceptance, fear of failure, fear of whatever those things are. And, even as we work with different clients, it's always fascinating because when we start peeling back the layers of where we're at and why what's holding us back from asking for this or having this conversation or moving over here or doing this, it's always that fear.
Yeah.
And have you ever heard the acronym for fear, Jill? False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And that's if I can put it in those terms, that makes me go, oh, most of the stuff I fear never ever happens.
Yeah.
Ever. Ever. So I'm just gonna keep going till I get hit in the nose.
Yeah. So I like that false evidence appearing real. And then you said face everything and recover.
Yeah, or there's the other side, which is the scared Betsy before I got sick, and that was F, a four-letter word, everything and run. Like I am out of here. This is what fear does. I am done. I am going. And there have been moments since we started Menu Trimfo where I actually have had those exact thoughts. Like I'm running out of here. How did I get here? And then I get amazing friends I meet along the way, or clients that become friends or partners, or I talk to food allergy moms, or I have situations where we get called in to make it so a kid can finish high school. I mean, it's just like, oh, wait a second. I'm going to take the hill and be in the center of this room because nobody else is, and it needs to be done. Because people with food allergies live with the exact same kind of fear that I lived with when I got diagnosed with scleroderma.
Yeah.
People are amazed I don't have a food allergy. I'm like, I could eat this table. I could eat anything. It's not a problem. But you know what? I understand medically when your life is on the line. I understand when there's more question marks at the ends of the sentences than periods, and how to just keep walking and just trust. Just trust. I have a prayer, not to go too deep, but I have a prayer that is bless it or block it. And bless it or block it has been my mantra with Menu Trimfo for 14 years. It's either going to build or it's going to crush. And I don't know which, but I know I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that face everything and recover, because it makes me think of, I read Shonda Rhimes has a book called The Year of Yes. And it makes me think about that, because her journey was to say yes to everything, because she was basically saying no due to all these things, but a lot of it was fear. And so, fear of that unknown, right? That false evidence, right? Like, but saying yes is like facing it, right? Like facing it. And then like, there's some things where you're like, okay, I'm not gonna do that again. I don't like it. Right. Or, or that didn't work out, or it did, but it's like,
my bad.
Recover, you're going to recover from it. Right. Like, you're going to recover from it. And then you'll decide, I want to do that again, or I don't.
Yeah. But I'm not dead.
Exactly.
But I'm not dead. Which levels the playing field. Just takes all the air out of the room, doesn't it? Sorry about that.
No,
it does level.
But that perspective, I think, is so, it's just so, I'm not even sure the word. I don't want to say it's not visible, but like, it's such a hard truth to be like, everything else besides that is okay.
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of like a superpower under the cover,
Yeah. But even if we can channel a little of that, how would that shift what we do during our day?
Yeah.
How would it shift how we show up for people? How would it shift how we have conversations, or how we ask for what we need versus, kind of leading back from the situation, or thinking, gosh, that's not my place, or someone else will do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's also, it's important to like understand people's why, right? Like we talk about that in sense of like understanding why that person cares, right? Like why, what that person values, understanding that value, that belief. And so you gave us a really good example of your value, right? Like what you value and why it's important for you to do this work. And so we talk about it a lot from the standpoint of leaders needing to understand what that value is for people, understanding their why it is important for whatever, right, they're working on. We talk a lot about food safety culture because, that's obviously the space that we're in, but it's with anything you're trying to get done, right? Like last week we talked about grassroots movements, right? It's with any movement, anything that you're trying to do, you have to understand the other person and why they find these things important. And so I think your story just also brings that up for me to say like, you have this powerful why you do this work, right, for the food industry. And it is ingrained in you. You've lived it many, many decades, right? You're continuing to live that story and being able to tell it. And so it's just the importance of why we do the work that we do, sharing that why, but also searching for that why in others.
Well, if I can just dovetail off of that just for a second and say, I can have my why, but if my why and my passion doesn't pay the rent, so I have to have something that's revenue building.
Yeah.
And then to find people that jump in the boat with me and go, I agree, we have to save lives.
Yeah.
We have to save lives. We're feeding people food in our mouth is the most intimate thing we do for people on a daily basis, and it's not supposed to hurt. How do we give the information for restaurants, for food service, for retail on packages so that the food won't hurt? It won't kill. Food isn't supposed to kill.
Yeah.
And then I've had to find, and I've been blessed to find a team of people who get that why and whose exact why is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so I get surrounded by my heroes who say, yeah, I'm going to step all the way in, sit all the way down, and we're going to make this difference. Our nutrition information is going to be spot on, and allergen charts are going to be, all of that. And they have to have that same passion and why. And we've been really, really lucky because people care. And to see them step into their own, it's been really wild too. Really, it's an honor. It's a privilege.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's really a good segue because so really we wanted to talk a little bit about allergens as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
okay.
You talked about, right? I mean, so you talked about like this passion that we have. And I think in food safety, right? Like we always say, we didn't come to food safety because we're going to get rich and be famous.
Right.
We came here because we have this shared passion of like doing the right thing and making sure food is safe. Of course, there's always things that are evolving and that we're learning. And when you talk about starting your business and starting with menu labeling, then I wonder, can you share with us, like, how did the journey come to be with allergens and the free from certification?
Yeah. So that little short 14-year overnight path was it started with nutrition in that, having a database engineer for a husband who's brilliant made it easy for him. Not easy. He'd probably like cough on me right now. Like, that's easy. I didn't sleep for 4 years. That wasn't easy. But our government has a USDA database. So he took that database, brought it in, did our own custom database, proprietary software, and that's how we could develop numbers. But not long after he started, he goes, hey, hon, we could do allergy tagging down to subparticle ingredient. Do you think that's going to matter? And I, in my infinite wisdom, said, oh, honey, stop. Just get me my nutrition software that I need. And he's like, by the way, I've eaten those words a ton of times, and I give him credit for this because he's like, wait, don't people need allergy charts? This is 2010. There weren't tons of allergy charts, you guys.
Yeah.
Starbucks had just put numbers on the menu to crush our dreams that a Frappuccino was a milkshake at that time. And so he's like, we need to tag that as dairy. We need to tag that as hazelnut syrup is like, that's a nut. That's a tree nut, and I was like, oh my gosh. So that year we began, I was talking at a restaurant show in Baltimore, Maryland. It was the Maryland State Show. And we get into a conversation. I do a presentation. Somebody says, what about allergens? I'm like, yeah, we're working on a training because it was in the back of my head. So that meant I was working on it. And I was like, we're working on a training.
Love it.
And next thing I knew, the gal that was with me, I thought she was going to do the training. She really didn't have the bandwidth. I'm like, fine, we're going to do the training. So we started the training in 2011 and developed AllerTrain, which is the first accredited food safety, food allergen, and gluten-free training in the country. There's now 9 of us, I think, but we were the first. We were out there doing it. And we launched AllerTrain on 11/1/11 with a very large hospitality chain, Buca di Beppi, Earl of Sandwich, and Planet Hollywood. They were our beta. And we started teaching, here's the big 8 allergens. Here's what gluten-free means. Here's the sensitivities, what Tia's talking about, intolerances, and what to do and how to handle it and how to not handle it. And we launched that. And it really went crazy in the college space because there was a big legislation that came down in Massachusetts at Lesley University, there was a class action lawsuit against the food service provider because they were not providing food that those with special dietary needs could eat, those students.
Mm.
So it settled, and part of it was training, and somebody reached out and we started training, and then we started to do that. And from there, we were on college campuses where people are like, could you tell us if we made this whole dining hall free from peanuts, tree nuts, and gluten? Could you certify it somehow? And I'm like, sure. I mean, I imagine it, we're going to do it, you know, and that was Cornell University, and that was 2016. And that was our first certified free from peanut, tree nut, and gluten location.
Oh, wow.
At that time. I was like, we can do this, because the whole building didn't have a single tree nut in it. And I understood the assurances they wanted to give their student bodies. And so Cornell's a big, beautiful campus in upstate New York. And they could make the food in that dining hall and then package it and ship it to the other dining venues across the campus. So students that needed to eat safely tree nut, peanut free, or gluten free could grab a package with that seal on it and know they were safe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Like you said yes, right? Like you faced those fears, like even thinking about like, oh, can you do this? And you're like, yeah, we can do it, right? We can do it. You have the expertise that's right in line with your mission, right? Like some people,
I might not have the expertise. A lot of times I don't. I have the smart to go ask for help.
There you go.
I just want to be clear, because people look at me and they call me doctor, and I'm like, oh, hon, we are so far from a doctor. But I'll tell you what, I can find people with the education and the background to do it, or find people that have the same passion. Or, you know, we were based near Colorado. We are based near Colorado State University. So we go there and say, hey, you have any grad students that are in food science that want to jump into a project? Or so I just want to make it clear that I am the least educated out of all of us and the most grateful for help.
What I love is that you're taking Shonda Rhimes, like the year of yes to like the lifetime of yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think even when we were talking yesterday, I mean, so like, I know people with food allergies and like
Sure.
I have my own sensitivity, but I don't really talk about it much. I just order different. Right. But I think you shared a story, you know, or you've shared stories about like the immense change that you've made for people to be able to live their life through this. Is there one that comes to mind that you'd share with our audience?
So there's always one that comes to mind. First off, it's hard because there's a number of them, but I talk about a kid named Sam, not his real name. And I talk about him regularly because we would run up and down the halls at the office and go, we're saving lives, we're saving lives. And that's really dramatic. Like that gets the press to stop and people, you know, pay attention. But the truth of the matter is we have been in a position where Menutrimfo and what we do save lives. I got a phone call during the pandemic, August of 2020. And it was a food allergy attorney asking me if I knew of XYZ food service company provider, commercial provider at XYZ school. And I didn't know of either. And she said, well, of course you don't, because I'm on your phone. I said, okay, what's going on? She said, this what we need. We got a kid there who just finished his junior year. And he wants to go back to the school for his senior year. It was a specialty school for STEM kids that are wicked smart in science and math and really on this trajectory. It's an honor to get invited to the school, but it's a live at the school. You don't go from home. It's very remote. And so he went for his junior year and he had 4 allergy incidents. He had 4 times where he got hurt by food. And 2 of the times he got so hurt by food, they had to helicopter him out of there to save his life.
Wow.
And this kid still wanted to go back as a senior. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking inside my head, for the love of all things holy, I'm really going to step all the way in on this. I'm like, okay. And bottom line, I ended up flying to this very remote part of the country. I walked into the meeting with the people. We're there to talk about Sam. And I'm like looking around this round table that's supposed to seat 8. Everybody's distanced I am one of 7 people in the room, and the other 6 looked so mad at me. And instantly I knew it was fear. They weren't mad.
Yeah.
They were scared they were going to hurt Sam again. They were
Mm,
scared for their jobs. They were scared I was going to take them apart with my mouth and my dictates.
yeah.
And I did what I know to do, which is, hey, we're all in this together. Let's figure out how to let Sam have a good year.
Yeah.
And to keep it short, and I always hear when you say to make a long story short is already too long, but to make a long story short, Sam got through his entire senior year without one allergy incident.
Wow.
Every single meal that young man ate, myself or a dietitian on our staff looked at the menu. We got pictures of every food item that went in that kiddo's mouth.
Wow.
We babysat that account like it was our little sister. And in May, when he graduated, I got the nicest email from him. And he was a wicked shy kid. And he's now, I think at the end of, he's middle of his junior year at a college. He's pre-med. He's going to go on and probably do research around allergens.
Oh.
He was talking pre-med as a doc, possibly research. Bottom line, he's alive. He's well. They're taking care of him at the university.
Yeah.
Everything's settled out. And that client that was so scared has become a really good client for us. Like, we do all kinds of stuff for them now. They do all our training. We help them with an allergy manual. Like, they've become a great partner. From them all angry in the middle of the pandemic to there, that's a win. I
Yeah.
don't do that. Something bigger than me does that. I'm just the venue.
Yeah.
You channel it, all the good.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
channel. Thank you. I couldn't find that word.
That's such a great story because it also highlights just changing culture, right? Like, they were at this place where they were afraid of moving forward, right? They've had some incidents, right? Some major incidents. You know,
Mhm.
a lawyer's calling you, so they've had some pretty heavy talks probably around this
Yeah.
topic. And so they're at a point where they have to make a decision. Are they going to march forward, right, and change their culture, or are they going to continue to have these issues and probably not exist, right,
Right.
in a few years? And so really being able to talk with that group and intentionally move forward, right, and stick with it, because it's not just okay, we've done this one thing and now we're good,
Mhm.
right? Like you
Right.
said, it's about continuously having those conversations and following up. And, you know, like you said, you had pictures of everything that Sam ate. You know, so it's
Yep.
like, how, even as we think about food safety culture, and sometimes we get into these like modes of, I'm going to print this paper off and I'm going to hang it up in the building and then we're good, right? Or
Yeah.
I'm going to
Check.
call out all the check, right? Or I'm going to call out
Yep.
all the complaints we've had once a month, and we're going to talk about it at our stand up once a month. But it's
Right.
really the consistency, and it's doing what will drive those behaviors. It's the checking up, right? Like, I
Mhm.
can't imagine how many conversations you had with those people in the room after that, where you're constantly following up with them. Like, it's a process.
Well, yes, and I could even take this all the way over to certified free from, and why putting our seal on packaging matters. Because that gentleman, that young man, one of his allergies was to dairy.
Mm.
And vegan food is supposed to be dairy free. First off, it's not always.
Mm.
And second off, vegetarian does not mean vegan.
Right.
And so if something is free from claiming to be dairy free and has certification on it, there's a whole different level of assurance
Mm.
than what they did to him.
Mhm.
And that is where I got crystal clear that certified free from what we did on the wall in Cornell, and then had food companies starting to come to us, packaged goods, saying, can we put this on our sweet potato fries? Can we put this on our meat product that's free from all the allergens? We want consumers to know it's safe so that Sam's parents can go to the grocery store, can go to the big box store and grab something and know their kiddo's going to be safe from dairy, because dairy is the most lethal food allergy for children.
Mm.
It's not the most popular, peanuts is, but dairy is the one that kills children first.
Oh, interesting.
Which, really kind of comes into the space where a lot of our audience probably is more familiar with the manufacturing side.
Mhm.
And I think I've asked you a couple times, Betsy, when, if you would have come before I knew you, if you would have come to me and shown me a package like certified free from allergens, I'd been like, really? I would have been the big skeptic going,
Good.
Whose marketing group came up with this new thing?
Yeah.
Right? Because I would have been like, how are we
There you
doing
go.
that? And like, what's the driver? Because so
Yeah.
many, I shouldn't say so many, because there's still a lot of manufacturers that don't fall under a GFSI certification. But I would have been,
Sure.
even with
Sure.
that, everybody's fallen under FDA, USDA that require allergen control management programs.
Yeah.
What would be so my question, I think, to you, one of the first times we met was, well, why would we do that? Like, we already
Right.
have this program where people are like,
Yeah.
yes, we have things in place. We're labeling, handling, segregating, like all the things.
Okay, so
What helps people move to this space? And
Yep,
how is
yep.
it different than maybe because they're like, well, we already get audited once. Why would we want to get audited again?
Mm.
So there's a couple of things. First off, it's great. You teed that up beautifully, Jill, because the truth of the matter is GMP, good manufacturing practices, are fabulous. And having allergen control plans in place is wonderful. Congratulations, yay. You have to have both of that to get certified free from. You can't get certified free from without those. But if you think back 20 years ago to the gluten-free space, everybody in the world was throwing up gluten-free. They'd go in and make it on Canva now today, or back then I think we were using Presenter or something from whatever. We just do whatever we could with a Microsoft Word doc and put up there that it was gluten-free with no accreditation, no certification behind it. That has drastically changed. Food consumers are saying, I don't want to buy a package that just has the words gluten-free. I want this seal from GFCO or BRC, or there's now like 4 of them out there that do gluten-free. We do gluten-free also. So they wanted the accreditation third party, and that is part of the difference. The other thing is we took what we were doing in colleges, flipped it over to packages and said, how can we help manufacturers achieve this?
Yeah.
And make it as painless as possible, but trustworthy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the smart ladies at the office came in. And they said, let's make this certified. So we have ISO accreditation for certified free from. We have ISO 17065. Yes, 65 accreditation for certified free from, which means there's a standard and a scheme that needs to be followed in a manufacturing facility or a co-packer to achieve that seal, because there has to be a standard, just like there wasn't for gluten-free and there is now, there wasn't for allergens and there is now. And we're seeing adoption from retail. We have our first big box company that there's a buyer in a certain vertical in the big box store that keeps seeing these soft claims, dairy-free, peanut-free, and says, go call Menu Drinvo and get certified free from. We're seeing it on airplanes. We have one of our vendors has it literally right on the back of her bag on granola that sits on all American Airlines, and more are demanding it, especially people in a tin box in the air 36,000 feet above. They need to have something that's safe to eat.
Yeah.
So it's a slow moving, because I don't have gazillions of dollars to do a big, huge marketing push and take a 60 by 60 booth in the middle of Expo East and West and say, get this.
Yeah.
But I have the consumers are starting to ask more and more, what products, where can they find it? What retailers, what grocery store chains are getting behind it? It's great that they have their own branded company, and products, but if they have the soft claim of peanut free, the consumers are starting to bark back.
Yeah. Thank you for walking through that, because, I would have felt very similar to Jill, right? Where it's like, well, what are some things that you can actually put on here that you are free from, and that kind of makes us nervous as food safety professionals. But for you to walk through, like, there is actually a standard, right? And you must follow this standard. And, we all understand ISO standards. So the fact that you have that piece a part of your program makes us feel a lot better, right? But then helps us, like, we understand that piece of it. obviously we read standards often and we comply to standards. And so being able to see like, this is the standard and this is what we're following. And that, yes, that makes sense that you're able now to put free from, right, on your certified free from on your packaging. Like, I feel like food safety professionals, that's what we are like, okay, yes, that makes sense. I feel comfortable doing that. And I think too, like you even called out, like it's around trust.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I trust, but verify. Trust, but send me your testing data. Trust, but make sure there's no proteins in there. Trust, but we're going to come on site. We're not just going to take your word for it off of a Excel sheet that you fill out online. That's unfortunately in the food allergy space. There's a couple of companies that say, fill out this form and we'll add you to our list of safe snacks, or we'll add you to our list of you can do it. And we will verify it. I call BS to that because nobody's going in that factory. Nobody's going in that plant. Nobody's looking to see how you source your ingredients, and all down to subparticle, and you might need to test when it comes through the back door. I think that community, the food allergy community, which consists of 32 million people with food allergies, 85 million people who make decisions based on that, deserve something they can trust.
Yeah.
I got off the couch. This is what I got off the couch for.
Yeah.
Well, and I love it because, of course, we always talk about, I mean, right, what's the number one thing for recalled? Like, right, mislabeled.
Unfortunately, allergens. Mislabeled allergens.
You know, as somebody who, you know, I've been responsible for labels in our food safety programs, right? Multiple companies. Like, that's always one of those things where you're like, if everybody's doing things right, we shouldn't end up there.
Yeah.
Right.
But especially when we have our own branded products and our brand reputation, what a sweet way to have another level of assurance and another way to be able to communicate something that differentiates you probably from your competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's also a piece of consumers in there. And Betsy, you talked a little bit about this earlier there's even this consumer drive to understand like what's in their product and can I actually trust this product?
Yes.
Would you say that consumers is driving a lot of what you all are doing?
So massively. And all of the food service people that you guys deal with and interact with, the ones we deal with, they get call after call, day after day from a mom, a dad, or a person with a food allergy who's trying to go, okay, this has a precautionary labeling statement. It says it might be made in a kissing cousin of a sideways person who, you know, might have an allergen somewhere and there's a peanut. You know, that's about how vague it is and about how crazy. I mean, Stugotz, Italian, thinks it's nuts, you know, that we're doing this, and the consumer's trying to, you know, magic decoder ring, figure out what it really means. So they're calling the same people at huge companies and saying, talk to me about your peanuts. It's because they don't trust either the soft claim, they don't trust the precautionary label statement, they don't trust the ingredient information's right. I mean, there's so much, and it's like, yeah, I get that. So just to be honest, we've had more incoming people to us about CFF in the last 30 days than in the last 30 months.
Oh, wow.
And it's because retailers are saying, no more, go get it certified. And it's not a stupid, crazy price. It's a reasonable price for the assurance it gives the consumer. And then the consumer can look at the seal and trust the seal, because they can go to my website and see what our thresholds are, see what our numbers are, see what testing we require. We're fully transparent.
I love that.
So it's just I understand it's life-threatening. I get that. I don't minimize that at all, but it is possible we can do hard things with food. We can make food safer.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And I think, yeah, and I love that perspective. And that came up at the place that we were last week as well with some of the advisory statements. And like, right, none of those make us feel good.
Right.
Because all of them show that we really don't have the controls in place that make us feel comfortable, or our legal teams or whomever.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why we have them. And so having an option where not only from that side, from a business standpoint on their perhaps liability or their practices, but as the consumer, right? Like I read those labels and fortunately, I don't necessarily need that for my immediate family, but even when I read them and I'm like, how would somebody know whether or not they can buy this product?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's like rolling the dice.
Mhm.
So it
Absolutely.
might contain in a building or in a line that maybe had something, and that's just
Yep.
not clear. And I think like when you talked about 33 million people,
Yeah.
33 million people
Yeah.
have,
It's a lot.
yes. And
It's a lot.
that's
It's actually 32, not to correct you, but I just want to make
30.
sure to nail the number right. But it's 85 million people because that one person, the family goes to eat where
Yes.
they can, that one can eat, or they buy
All
the bread.
impacting.
And you were talking about, Tia, you were talking about sesame. And in this industry, a lot of people had sesame in their flavorings. So
Yes.
when sesame came in, all of a sudden, people that thought you could be safe to eat XYZ bread, they lose it. And then we had people that added sesame seeds to the top of buns for that information. So
Yes. Yes.
yes, and there are 23 different allergens in the world among 21 different countries. And so it's not a small problem.
Right.
It's a huge, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And what happened with sesame was super impactful. There's only two breads we recommend that are sesame free in the country right now. After
Really?
sesame came in, that didn't used to be the case. There
Wow.
actually might be a third I just heard about. So you think about somebody with a sesame allergy and they're excited January 1st hits and they can now get more options and the options get taken away.
Right.
It's
Yes.
like, come on.
Yeah.
And then final thought, Jill, you were talking about precautionary statements. Canada had the exact same problem we have in the US with the statements were really wishy-washy and really cover yourself. And lawyers were telling us. In the US, I've read 31 different kinds of statements. I've read 31 different variations personally. And in Canada, they're like, okay, now in Canada, we have one statement. It hasn't helped us at all. It
Yeah.
doesn't make us understand it any better. Now we're down to one. The US is looking to go down to one. And I think about what they told me from Food Allergy Canada. It's still a pain.
Yeah. And it's also important to say, like, it also doesn't even, the may contain statements does not cover you even legally if you were to have an allergen issue. So, it's like all of these may contains or made in a building. And like, I can remember, Jill, like when we were traveling, I saw this product and it had like all the allergens listed on the back. And it was like the most simplest product. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, I do, but we had one that was made and it had no allergens, the same exact product. So it must have been just another facility. Every single one.
Every single one. And I'm like, well, that just makes me think, like, what is your sanitation program? And what is your
Well, that's a manufacturing. Yeah, no, that's two different plants for that have the same recipe, and they're declaring because of what's on site. And I called BS to that too. How is the consumer going to pick it up and think to read every time?
Right.
That's why.
Like it's
you get
wild.
it. You totally get it.
So Betsy, I'm curious, like, as you talk about like on this mission, right? And we're obviously as passionate about this, right? Because we work in the food safety space. But I'm curious, as people are listening, we have people that are, working in facilities or leading food safety. Sometimes they're consultants or even service providers. What would you say us that's in this, food safety space, like, what should we be doing, or what are we missing? What is something that we should think about?
I have two words flying through my brain, and they're both clean enough I can say. That is demand. We are. Demand better.
Demand better.
Demand better for your consumer. Demand better for your customer. Demand better for yourself. We can do better. We can do hard things. I think the soft claims have hurt us so drastically. The precautionary labeling statements have left us wishy-washy. The consumers don't trust us. It's the reason when a food allergy incident happens constantly. They happen every few seconds. However, deaths are rare. But when somebody dies of a food allergy, it makes national news because it's so horrific and they're doing everything they can in their power to trust. I do believe, and I know this sounds almost like snake oil salesman, and I don't mean it that way at all, but I do believe a certification can give a level of confidence and backing that's desperately needed, the way gluten-free was years ago, except in
Yeah.
this case, it's lethal.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Why are we
that's
doing better for gluten than allergies? I don't understand.
that's definitely some good advice for our
Yeah.
food safety professionals and our audience to take away.
Yeah, I agree.
But I also don't want our audience to go away and not know how to connect with you.
Yes.
So I want to find, so that's what I'm curious about too. So if somebody's like, I mean, maybe they've already looked you up on LinkedIn or somewhere, but what's the best way to get a hold of you to maybe learn more about all of the things that you do?
So the easiest way to reach me is on LinkedIn, Betsy Craig,
Okay.
or hit me on my website, Menutrinfo, Menutrinfo, Menutrinfo.com. Google food allergies, Betsy, I'll pop up, and where I work pops up. Where I get to work on a daily basis pops up. But either one of those, I'm very, very public about who and what I am, and I'm very public about our business and what we get to do. So that's the easiest way to reach us. I hope that's what you were referring to.
Oh, absolutely. And Victoria, you've asked, will this be available? Yes.
Mhm.
All of our real talks are on our YouTube channel, but you can easily get there just by going to foodsafetycatalyst.com, and on our blog, they're all there.
Yep.
So that's where I would suggest going, because it's easy to navigate through that.
Yeah.
But yes, go back, pull out the parts and the information that you need, that you want to review again, maybe that you even want to share with other people.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Because we are in this fight together, right?
Yes, we are.
Of saving lives, and it's really important.
yes, and demanding better.
Yes.
Yeah, demand better.
I love that.
I've never said that before. That just flew into my brain. When you were starting to ask the question, I was like, why can't I get these two words out of my head? I think we can. I demanded better and got off the couch. And so I think we need to demand better of our industry.
Yes. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Oh, Betsy, our hour has
Thank
flown
you.
by, and it has been such a pleasure and honor to have you. We are so grateful for your time and for sharing with our audience today.
Yes, we are.
100% my privilege and honor. You two are amazing. And I am grateful for your friendship and look forward to partnership with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. And we really enjoy having you in the audience here with us today too. We know you've taken time out of your day, which I'm sure is full.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you so much for being here and being part of this. And hopefully, gathering a couple new perspectives for you and for others to take back.
Yes, absolutely. And we do this every Wednesday. We have Real Talk every Wednesday at 12 Eastern, 11 Central. So join us each week on LinkedIn, where we talk about things that are top of mind in food safety and how us as leaders can continue to, honestly make food safe, right? And protect our consumers.
Yes.
Right.
So we will see you here, same time, same place next week. Until then,
Thank you.
a great week.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you all.